This is Babblin bout Film, Episode 3. Today's film is Four Christmases, directed by Seth Gordon, starring Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaugn. Our guest today is Lee Demmler.
You are listening to Babblin bout Film, a podcast for movie lovers.
If you're a first-time listener, you can check out show notes, upcoming episodes, and links to all of our social media at babblinboutfilm.com. Follow the show at Babblin bout Film on Twitter and Facebook. Hello, and welcome to our third episode of Babblin bout Film. I'm your host, Bob Demmler, and I'm joined again this week by my brother, Lee Demmler. We've decided to cover a Christmas movie since it is the holiday season, Four Christmases, which came out in 2008, directed by Seth Gordon. All right, let's get this going. So this is like the third time we were planning to do this.
To do
this episode. Today I was doing some yard work, and I thought to myself, like, because I worked all day, and then I was doing yard work.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, gosh, maybe I should call Lee and just tell him that because I'm like so sore.
Oh,
I had such a rough day. I was
really?
like, maybe I'll. Plus, like, I was trying to have the kids help me out in the yard do yard work, and that's never easy because they're spoiled and they don't want to do any. Like Aiden wants to, but he's not big enough to really help, you know. And so as I'm out there, I was thinking about like calling you, telling you like maybe another time. And then it kind of just reiterated some of like the themes in this movie, which most people, you know, they see it as just like this funny kind of movie.
Yeah.
But there's a formula to this movie for one, and there's also some pretty deep-seated themes that go through it, which most people might not see.
Yeah, definitely.
With
a lot
dealing
of
with family.
Yeah, there's a lot of family values and stuff going on there.
Yeah, like so like do you have any like if you could sum this film up in like one message, like what do you think that might be?
I was actually reading something that the director said. Something like it's about trying to figure out who you are and be who you are in front of your family and in different situations like that, especially when you have, multiple families to go to, like the Four Christmases, you got two different families to go to, and how hard it is to like figure out who you want to be and, how you deal with it with your family and stuff like that. Was what he was saying, which I thought was kind of interesting, but
yeah. So like one of like the messages that I got from this movie was that relationships are tough, are never perfect, and require compromise. Which that really gets drilled home as the film goes on, and you kind of see the banter between Kate and Brad, which is Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaugn. You know, they even from the very beginning of the film, when they're in bed together, you kind of get a glimpse that Kate maybe wants more.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. Yeah.
She asks something really strange. She's like, it seems like we've been on this vacation before because they were planning their vacation, and then he's like no, no, it's a whole it's different water.
Fiji. We've never been to Fiji.
Yeah, it's a different resort. It's like so at that point you can really see like he's not ready for any
but
change.
she starts to like show little
really early too, which I thought was pretty crazy. But
kind of push you along with that idea probably.
Yeah. So Whenever I first saw this movie, 2008, I was with Ivory, and it's no secret I'm a much more reserved person than she is.
Yeah.
And so I always think about in the very beginning of that movie the whole Kent and Daphne thing. Like,
oh yeah,
Ivory would totally be into something like that. It would be so hard for me to get into something. Bitch, I'm talking to you. Like
that is scene. Hilarious.
And that
where they go on a date together and they're. Probably trying to spice things up, doing like a fake blind date with each other. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
And that right there, it also showed a lot of, kind of setting up the themes of the movie too. Like what fun they can have. They're not married. They have no children.
Yeah.
Like that seems like something that like single couples
Yeah,
that don't
yeah.
have like, you know, things to tie them down. Like,
Yeah, they
it's
can
fun.
do it, go out and have fun more often, probably.
Yeah, and you know, as the film progresses, those themes of like not wanting a family because they want to like, you know how they say like, oh, there's a reason why there's an expression tie in the knot or ball and chain.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
Yeah, they said like till death do us part, or I promise to obey.
yeah. You know, like it. I felt that like, you know, with kids, you're like when you don't have kids, you're gaining like a certain level of happiness. Like you have freedom to do the things you want that make you happy. But when you have kids, it's like something totally different. It's like you're trading one happiness for another depending on which path you choose.
Yeah.
And so as a father myself, like I think I can gravitate towards this film more than like, you know, because I talked to so many people about how we were going to do this movie and like it's, you know, if we get back to how there's such vast differences, like if you look at it from a monetary standpoint, this film was a success. But you look at it in the critics' eyes, it was a super bomb, like horrible. I think it got, it has a 25% splat rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 47% audience rating. So even the audience as a whole, though, doesn't, you know, they don't gravitate. And I think, you know, like, you know, throughout our childhood and everything, trying to get mom to watch some of the films that we liked, it's really hard to get people outside of like the box, like with people like Will Ferrell, Vince Vaughn, like their type of, you know, like those types of comedic actors, they all have their own style.
Yeah, and Vince Vaughn's very like specific type of style.
Yeah, it's very dialogue based.
Yeah, which is awesome. I think that's why I like him
fast
so much.
paced. Yeah.
I mean, his reactions and like that's what it was cool because I think I read something about it being a lot of improv. You know, like there being a lot of improv in the movie. And it's like, you know, Vince Vaughn just seems like a lot of the stuff he says like comes off the cuff, and like he has like this expression on his face when he says stuff like it's happening, like, you know.
Yeah.
He's just really good at pulling off those real time like conversations with people and you know.
Yeah, he has like this fast paced you know, dialogue type of thing that people like maybe they're not looking for it, so like they totally miss some of like the funny things that he
some
says.
people don't like,
Yeah, you know, like, you know, I know Will Ferrell's not really like that, but same thing. Like he has this style that people don't get.
Yeah, it goes over a lot of people's heads.
Yeah.
Like,
But some numbers, since we were, you know, throwing out Rotten Tomato scores and stuff like that. So the film had an $80 million budget, and it made $164 million in the box office. That's the, you know, the numbers I found.
Yeah.
So that's a success when you think about it. It made, you know, double the money. But I think that when you have like seasonal films like this, it's really hard to get like an accurate accounting of the films, because they're kind of like, you know, they're niche, they're seasonal, and it's not a classic.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, and it hits a certain type of demographic of people too. I think, you know, it's like like people like who come from divorced families or stuff like that is going to find a lot more humor in this type of stuff than people who come from single. You know, but.
You know, another big thing that I noticed in this film is that they really kind of put, you know, they have like stereotypes that they really perpetuate in the film. You know, like the redneck family. You know, like way
that's
Robert.
The first Christmas. The first Christmas is his father's house, and
and I thought that was pretty crazy. Like how they just man. You know, everything that Robert Duvall says and that family says, it just like perpetuates this redneck stereotype. So you know what? Since we kind of, you know, hopped around a little bit, let's get back to the beginning, talk a little bit more about this, and we'll kind of like, you know, flow through the film, kind of like, you know, how we did with the last episode. Good. So you know, we already talked about the blind date, the little blind date thing. And you know,
they go to a dance class after that.
Yeah, they go to a dance class, and that's where the whole, you know, tying the knot, ball and chain came up.
Yeah. It's cool because Steve Byrne is a comedian from Pittsburgh who happens to be in that scene
Oh
randomly.
yeah,
if you know,
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like with the woman who was asking them why weren't they getting married and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
You want children? No.
No, I want them.
No. Yeah. Yeah, but and that's where we we get a glimpse of like they want to be together because they want to, not because they have to, and that's why they don't believe in marriage and stuff like that. They move on and they're at like some party, and I thought it was pretty crazy. What's his Kevin from The Office, totally different kind of character in that he's talking like so eloquently. It was pretty funny. But they're talking about how they make excuses to their family for missing the holidays.
Yeah.
And
he's like, you tell them you do charity work. We're teaching English as a second language in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, just so many different things, and he talks about how the more details you give, it kind of throws them off the scent.
Yeah.
You can't spell families without lies. Try it.
Yeah.
But so again, it kind of just reinforces the whole we're single. Well, we're not married, and we're doing what we want to do.
And actually, in the previous scene, like at the dance class, when he's asked about having kids, they say, that we come from families of divorce, so we've seen it play out, and we don't want to repeat the pattern. Is like one of the lines which kind of like really hit.
I think at some point too that he says like, don't you? I think it might be in the party scene when Kevin. I think Kevin's the one. Like, well, I don't know what his name is in the movie, but Kevin from The Office.
Yeah. He
asked them like, don't you feel bad that you lie to your families at Christmas? And he's like, why would we feel bad that we're taking time for us? We're taking vacation for our vacation.
Yeah.
Which totally makes sense.
It makes a good point.
Growing up in a very holiday oriented family, our family probably well, maybe not so much nowadays, but like back in when we were kids, like
nobody ever missed Christmas.
Nobody missed any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's just so many good little. There's just so many things that quote from this movie. It's like it's hard to just.
There's so many like really good quotes. Yeah. So they're in the apartment and they're playing backgammon. Like, who plays backgammon? Who plays that?
Yeah, that is random.
I think that's the like I had said before, is that's the first glimpse that we get at like the remorse that Kate feels towards the path that she's chosen. Do you feel like we've been on this vacation before? And he goes, it's different water, it's different fish, it's like all kinds of stuff. And that's when we find out what their actual excuse is for missing the holidays this year is, and it's they're inoculating babies
in Burma.
And like I found a transcript of the screenplay of the film, and for some reason when he speaks in Burmese, whatever, it's not there. Like, they totally passed it up in the transcript. So I don't know if that was like, maybe that was
probably just like gibberish improv.
Yeah, it was gibberish improv.
Yeah. And then that leads into the airport scene to leave for Fiji.
Yeah, and it's like all the fog, which I guess they say is like it happens.
Yeah, flight's delayed to the weather.
Because of the weather.
And then they got Ralphie from Christmas Story.
Yeah, I think he was like an executive producer or something of the film. But yeah, they're trying to like get like another flight, and they're like, do you have a sister airline or a cousin airline,
or an airline that your airline's fell
up?
Yeah.
And then they're obviously caught on the news, and that's what causes them to have to, let their families know that
they immediately get called. I think Kate gets a call from her mom.
Yeah. And then
at the same time as
Brad does,
Brad's dad is.
Yeah, and Brad ends up saying that he's gonna go to the family, and then they kind of have like this little fight,
this argument,
and
and he's like, my mom, your dad, your mom, my dad.
Vince Vaugn, he says, he kind of gets upset, like, do you know what you've committed us to? And then she's like, well, you committed us to your dad too, and he's like, well, my dad's a unique, specific animal, and your mom's not. Like that, just like the way he says, like, my dad's a unique, specific animal. Like, that's such a weird thing to say, but like, it's funny coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And then as soon as that scene ends, like, that they're on their way to these 4 Christmases, and all of a sudden it's like funeral scene. They're all in black, driving in the car.
That is interesting. Yeah. That's definitely a good point.
Yeah. So, they end
They're on
up
the trip.
they're driving to Brad's dad, which is the first family.
And then there's a really great scene right before they enter the house. I don't know if you like.
Yeah, and they're talking about like what their safe word is to
their
leave.
exit strategy.
Their exit strategy.
Is to leave.
Yeah, and he actually like tries to like trick her into saying it.
So,
all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking. So they go inside and you meet the MMA brothers.
Yeah.
Tim McGraw, which is such a weird thing.
That's hilarious because I didn't look up who it was and I knew that he looked familiar, but
he's like a country music singer.
Yeah, I just did not realize who he was, but I knew he looked familiar.
Yeah, Jon Favreau though. I was listening. I was watching one of those like interviews that are on like the bonus features of like the DVD and stuff, and he was saying that like he had a ton of fun with this because he was a character that he's never been a character like that before, and he really had like fun just like diving into this weird.
Yeah, I'm sure it was fun picking on Vince Vaughn too, since they've been friends for so long.
Yeah, but like his character in that is so out there.
He's crazy. Yeah, like as soon as he shows up, I'm pretty sure Jon Favreau sneaks him and chokes him like before they even like shake hands or anything.
He's doing a sort of like a triangle armbar is what he's doing to him.
But standing up,
Well, he takes him out of the ground and he's kind of like thrusting his pelvis into him like as he's pulling the arm.
Yeah,
which is like
she's like I haven't seen that move in a while. Yeah, it's like.
But they go back into like the room to talk or whatever, Kate and Brad.
Yeah, that's a really good scene.
One of the best lines in this movie is in that scene, and it's, "My childhood was like the Shawshank Redemption, but I didn't have some kind, older, soft-spoken black man to share my struggle with." Like, that's what I mean. Like, people just like, they probably like glance over that. And, like,
and don't even realize how funny
that is. That is so funny.
Yeah.
Like, just that he... I don't know. I don't know if that was
it was
scripted.
It's hilarious. I don't know if it was or not either, but I definitely thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I also find it pretty funny, like right before they leave the room, they kind of he explains. I'm pretty sure Jon Favreau's character Denver explains their names.
Yeah.
And because in the room they have a whole conversation about his name, so Denver explains that their names are Denver and Dallas, and that Vince Vaughn's character's name is Orlando. Yeah. And then they go on to have a conversation in the room about it, where Kate's upset that he didn't tell her his real name.
Yeah. He said something else funny about that.
It was hilarious. It's so great. He says, I hated my name, so I changed it. You don't say, hey, my name used to be Asshole, but now it's Bob. You say, hey, my name's Bob.
That's too funny. Yeah. So they move on to like the gift opening scene. And we find out they have a $10 spending cap.
Yeah.
And the first child gets an Xbox 360. And the second child gets a flashlight.
Yeah, that's awful.
And he's just like, he asks. Well, first, everyone knows that Vince Vaughn's character Brad is the one that gave the 360 to the one child, and then they grab the next gift, which is from the father of the kid who's opening it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why don't you love me, Daddy?"
Why don't you love me?
And then he gets super upset because then they find out that there's no Santa Claus. Like the kid finds out there's no Santa Claus. And he takes all of his clothes off and goes streaking outside.
Jumps out the window naked.
Yeah. And I think at that, we meet Susan, which is Jon Favreau's character's wife, who is also the girlfriend in Eastbound and Down. Yeah, and she's just hysterical in it. She's like kind of explaining like the whole streaking scenario, like how that
she's like, he always comes back.
Yeah, he always comes back. So Robert Duvall, which plays the father, he gets a satellite dish.
Oh yeah, and that leads to a great quote too.
Yeah. But what's crazy is that like that when he's talking about like it's a satellite dish, not a satellite, and he's like flipping out. It kind of reminded me of. Have you seen The Internship with Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson?
I think I've seen it once.
Well, there's this one scene in there where Vince Vaughn, he's trying to say online. He's like on the line.
Oh,
Online. Yeah, and then Edgar's like online. And he's like on the line. It's on the line.
Yeah.
On line.
Yeah, it's like,
you know, it's just
seems
like just like
it.
the play with words.
Mm.
Somehow he can make something funny out of like
Something so
satellite
funny.
dish. It's not satellite, it's a satellite dish. But somehow he makes it
It's
funny.
not a satellite dish. There's not a satellite genius.
Yeah.
And then he's talking about how to install it, and he's telling him that he should get a professional. He's like, if you think I'm gonna allow a sex predator in a uniform to wander around my house and touch my underwear, you got another thing coming.
Yeah.
It's just funny to see Robert Duvall say something like that.
So like whenever you see Robert Duvall, like what do you think of? Like what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I mean, weirdly, it would have to be like Gone in 60 Seconds to a degree, but obviously he's in what was Lonesome Dove and stuff like that. But like for some reason,
forgot. Yeah, so he's in Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, he's like the guy who helps him.
Oh yeah. He's
for some reason that's one that comes to my mind, honestly. But
I totally
don't
forgot
know
about
why
that.
That's one of the only ones, but it really is.
Yeah.
But,
I always think of THX 1138 just because.
well, see, yeah, I honestly only really seen it once.
Yeah.
But,
and I think of that, The Road. The
yeah,
Road.
he
He's
is
like
in that,
just because he looks so strange.
he
in
is.
it.
Yeah,
So like he just
and he's one of 4 real characters.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's kind of like when from that point on, whenever they're like, oh, we install stuff we install stuff ourselves, and they're up on the roof and all that. Like I thought that's when you really kind of see like how they perpetuate stereotypes of like this family.
Yeah.
Not only like the way the house looks. Like,
Yeah.
It
it looks like weirdly looks like it's out in the middle of the desert. I don't know where that was at, but yeah. So Vince Vaughn's character is trying to drill the satellite into the house.
Yeah.
And I think Jon Favreau's character is like, you need a lock nut, and he's like, I know what I'm doing. He's like, oh, I didn't know that you majored in satellite installation at Stanford. He's like, oh, thanks for. He's like, thanks for mocking me for being educated, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But that's when we hear, I guess Vince Vaughn's character Brad, he's talking to Robert Duvall, his father, about his mother and like the relationship they had.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to speak ill of your mother on Christmas, but she's nothing but a common street whore.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh man,
too funny.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
And then he says, how Brad's talking about how, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you shut her out of your life. And he's like, I fed her, I put a roof over her head, I never lied to her face. If you ask me, I spoiled her.
Yeah.
And then he's like, that's a lesson for you kids. And he says something about like, again.
Yeah, it's a lesson for you boys about being honest with your wives.
Yeah.
you
can't spell families without lies. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the couple next times that he realizes that, because Vince Vaughn was using that statement, and he hears his dad say it.
Yeah.
And
I think that kind of comes back too later in the film, whenever you kind of see like the parallels between him and his father, and
especially at the end of the movie.
At the end of the movie, that's really what changes him.
Yeah.
Is knowing
realizing
the parallels that he has with his father.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that later. But so they're up on the roof and they're installing this satellite dish, and I think this is the first time that like from like a filming perspective, I caught something that was like glaring, like man, that's crazy. It's like all the fast cuts they had. Mm-hmm. Like, it was showing so much anxiety. Like, they were going back and forth between inside the house, outside the house, all this stuff that was going on because, obviously Brad had fallen off of the roof.
Yeah.
And he's holding onto the thing, and then the
Kate
cord.
hits the baby's
Kate
head
hits the
off
baby.
the cabinet.
All these fast cuts, man, were showing I had anxiety just watching it.
The tension was building, like stuff that I'm sure people's, even when we were young, the trees like crashed down on Christmas, like people having terrible, occurrences on Christmas, like that's one of them, in their household. It's pretty funny.
But so I thought that was like really a good way to really show the anxiety that was occurring.
Yeah,
like all the from a filming standpoint.
And then Vaughn's laying on the ground. after he fell off the roof and he says mistletoe, and then that cuts to the next,
which is the exit strategy. I don't know if we mentioned that. Yeah. So yeah, they're on the car ride
to Christmas number 2, which would
Kate's
be
mom.
Kate's mom.
Which so in the car ride, they kind of talk just for briefly about some of the conversation that Kate had with Susan, which was John Favreau's character's wife, about like breastfeeding.
Oh yeah, like the nipples,
the boob
turning.
like,
Yeah,
it's like it's tire rubber.
It's like tire rubber. Like I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Yeah. So they are at Kate's mom's house, which Kate's mom is played by Mary Steenburgen. I think that's how you say her name, which is the stepbrother's mom.
Yeah, I was too lazy to look up her name.
Yeah. But she is mom. Like, this is like, I feel like this is a movie that really let people be different than what they normally are.
Definitely wild.
She was wild, and meanwhile she's like a very likable character. Like, well, she's likable in this, but she's just like out of her mind, batshit crazy.
They were. I mean, her and the grandmother were like oddly flirtatious with Vince Vaughn as soon as he showed up to the house.
As soon as they walk in the house, it's like, get over here and give me a hug, you big fat purple teddy bear. So weird. So they're in like the living room or whatever, and they have like this little scene where they're talking about like gifts that they can give.
So the
gifts that they can give. The mother goes
because
first.
They do a thing where they don't give gifts.
And the little girl is like super pissed off. She's like, "Are you serious? No real gifts." And it's like, no, we're giving of ourselves. So Kate's mom, she says, "I'd like to give more of myself to my church and to Pastor Phil," which is so strange to say.
So weird. That's funny.
And what's funny is whenever Vince Vaughn, when his character, they walk in and they meet everybody and they meet Kate's sister. Kate is talking to the sister, and Kate's sister is breastfeeding at the time, and she won't stand up. And then Brad walks up and says hello, and she immediately stands up.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Interesting.
Like that, and that kind of goes with like, I'm pretty sure as soon as they pulled up to the house, Kate warned Brad that it was a bit of a cougar den.
Yeah, it's a cougar den. That's right.
Everyone kept hitting on him.
So I don't know. Is it Mama that they say, or is it just Grandma? I can't remember what the name is. But her gift is that I'd like. I can extend the frequency for which I pleasure Pap with my hand in my mouth.
Juan's like, did she just say that?
Yeah, and he kind of like stumbles. He stumbles. He's like, what Grandma just said, and vacation and doing it more with Kate. Yeah. So that's when we get the first glimpse of Kate. She has the baby. And the baby throws up all over Kate.
And Brad flips out.
Dude, Brad is going crazy. And whenever I was looking at reviews, like some of the reviews of the film were like the ones that were really positive were like, I could watch Vince Vaughn getting like sick from throw up for an entire film, and it would be funny.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, like he's just like get out of here, I can't see it.
He's like coughing and choking.
Yeah. So Kate, she goes to the bathroom to get like changed because she got puke all over and stuff, and so there's a breast pump there. Like, who just starts playing with people's breast pumps?
Yeah, it's very weird. Yeah,
it's very strange. Yeah, and then like who just like it's not like they're trying for kids or anything like that, but like she's just like, I'm just gonna randomly take a pregnancy. There's a pregnancy test. Yeah.
I can't remember if she ever brings up like whether or not she missed her period or anything like that.
I don't think she ever said it. Yeah. Or no, she, what she does in the car later. Yeah, she does, and we'll get back to that. But so she takes a pregnancy test, and she's just sitting there waiting, and the little girl walks in.
Yeah, the niece walks in.
Yeah, and takes it.
She thinks it's a Sharpie marker or something like that. They're not allowed to have it. Yeah.
But so they go out to the jump.
Oh yeah, which Kate is like,
she's
scared
afraid.
of. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, those kids in that jump, like, I would beat the shit out of those kids.
Yeah, that
like,
would be hard to deal with. You'd be wanting to backhand
little kids who, like, are just not behaved. Like, because really it comes down to, like, when kids are that bad, it really reflects on, like, how the parents, like, are neglectful or, like, just don't.
And that many of them, too, together.
Yeah, and that kind of can do something, too. Like, you know, you could have a really good kid. You could have multiple really good kids, but once they get together, one person kind of does something, and then they all just kind of like, okay, it's free, it's a free for all. But man, that like they were
torturing her.
Yeah, they were torturing her
inside the jump.
Yeah, and then the little girl, I forget what her name is, Casey or Cassie.
I think Cassie. Yeah.
She puts the pregnancy test because at this time she just thinks it's a marker. She puts it in her mouth to climb up the jump.
After like there's like a whole fight that ensues between her and the kids.
Yeah, she's like body slamming them, yeah.
And then she screams at her like, you know, that she peed on it, and then she spits it out and everything.
Yeah. You know that marker? I peed on it.
Yeah, and then while she's out there being tortured in the jump, her mother and everybody are in the house, like showing Brad, you know, embarrassing photos of her from fat camp.
Some of them are bad.
Yeah, her with the girl Jo, who was like her friend that they made out to be like it was more than a friendship thing between her like.
Yeah.
And then they revealed the reason why the kids tortured her in the jump was because she was Cootie Kate and whatnot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So. I think the next scene is probably like my favorite scene in the whole movie.
One?
The church scene.
Yeah, the church scene.
This child is a blessing to the both of us.
Yeah, you know, I was trying to like think about what type of denomination that church would have been.
Well, you know that that's like some of the notes I have is that I think they definitely say that it's Catholic, but it seemed more like a Baptist church or something.
Just the way
like
the church
that.
is set up, it looked like one of those ones that like a televangelist on
TV
or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it did seem that way to me also.
Yeah, like would be like somebody, you know, is up and all like, you know, he's all jumping around on stage and stuff.
You know, whenever I was researching like reviews because I was trying to like read what people thought of the film, I came across like this Christian
website
film review website where it's just like Christians to talk about.
Yeah.
And you know, like it was pretty like they didn't like it.
Yeah, but they were fair and
they were pretty fair and like I can understand some of the things they had said.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they definitely said was that this film is kind of like formulaic in the way that like all these like Christmas movies, like it's all just about like everything goes wrong. Yeah. You know, like Christmas with the Cranks, Deck the Halls, like Christmas Vacation. Like there's like and Christmas Vacation has become like this cult classic, but like it's still in that boat. Like that could have easily been like something that people could like hated.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they usually are like the whole movie usually is like everything's disaster and at the last minute the Christmas is saved or something.
Yeah,
you know, everything ends up better. It's like I was just watching one this morning called Love the Coopers, and it's like that way. Like the whole movie is like real depressing and everything, and at the end it's all solved.
Yeah,
like Christmas, happily ever after type.
Yeah,
but
so like this Christian website or whatever, like they were pretty fair, but they were saying like it's all formulaic, and they kind of like were talking about sort of what I was saying in the beginning is like it really perpetuates stereotypes like. Like Catholics are like these like
they make them out to be like crazy
crazy people. Yeah. Which there's no
Which I mean that pastor did seem crazy and it's funny because he was actually the guy from the beginning of Wedding Crashers.
Yeah.
Who was just
he was the husband, right?
Yeah, he was the husband. Yeah.
With the wife that's like
with
shut your face or
shut your mouth.
Not what I'm talking about. Yeah. I think he's like
He's been in a couple things with him?
No. I think he's actually like a country folk singer.
Oh, really?
Like I think he's like a famous. And that's another thing is like in the Christian review site they were saying like there's multiple people in this film that are like really good. You know, Tim McGraw, this guy, they're really good singers, but there wasn't really like a musical
element.
There wasn't like a musical element in this film, which they kind of he was saying they kind of like messed up with that.
Yeah.
You got these two great talents. I personally don't know what he's in, but I've heard that before because I remember when Wedding Crashers came out. I remember hearing stuff about how this guy's like a really famous singer.
I've never really seen him or heard him.
His name is Dwight Yoakam, is what his real name is.
It kind of sounds familiar. Yeah.
But
so then they're asked to play Joseph and Mary.
Joseph and Mary, man. This scene is just like even in like the beginning, like when he's doing his vocal warm ups, he's like red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather.
That's hilarious. doing the vocal warm ups. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
and he's doing "This child is the blessings of the mother."
Yeah,
he's in the back practicing it.
Yeah, and
enthusiastic.
So enthusiastic. So when they're up there and they're doing their job, like it seemed like the whole thing was just like, okay, let's swaddle this baby. Like that was the whole scene.
Yeah,
that was a botched scene,
Yeah.
But some of like the quotes in this were like, perhaps my wife is better at making babies than swaddling them. No. Yes. Like he says yes right now. No.
Like, do
yes.
your job, unfit mother.
Yeah, he just like takes over like the scene. Yeah. Woman, do your job and swaddle this baby. Yeah. And then like, whenever it's all over. Yeah. And he goes back to like the pew.
He's just so into it. He's
so into it.
Yeah, he's like clapping along.
Oh, man.
And like you just see the look on her face. It almost looked like it was all real. Like she was really mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looked great.
I was watching an interview of Vince Vaughn about this character too, and he was kind of talking about Reese Witherspoon and how, like Reese Witherspoon, she's always been in films that she's not really known for her comedy. She's known for her dramatic roles,
for the most
but
part.
he said like she was like super like just willing to do anything, be a part of anything, because that's kind and it's so weird because like when you think of at the time that this movie came out, 2008, Vince Vaughn was a star, but he wasn't like gigantic like the way people know him now. But Reese Witherspoon was, and so for Reese Witherspoon to kind of be like the second hand, it's kind of it's cool to know that she was like just listening and ready to learn like the comedic form.
I feel like they definitely made a good Christmas movie together. Yeah, I think it works well.
Yeah, I love this movie. It's like it's kind of sad that like people have like such
like whenever you bring it up to people, like very few people are like like.
Oh,
reply with a good
thing
to say.
Well, I think there's like a group of people, like if like there's a certain demographic of people like that when you hear Vince Vaughn, Will Ferrell, even like Adam Sandler, I think at times has been lumped into this. Like there's like a group of people that you hear those names and you're just like instantly turned off. But like for the younger crowd, like our crowd, like it's just he's
some people just like don't get his comedy. I mean, because he is kind of like he's like kind of rambunctious or something. He's like he's like kind of crazy, but he's like, and he talks fast. Like that's
he
one
talks
of the things
very
people
fast.
say. He talks fast and everything.
Yeah, I kind of like too though that he's a lot of actors. It seems like nowadays, like they're trying not to be like pigeonholed to like a certain thing. Like Vince Vaughn, like although I gotta say, True Detective was the second season with him was a horrible season.
Yeah.
But like
I think
I'm
did
happy.
well overall.
Yeah.
But
I'm happy that like people like take leaps like that, especially like him. Like even though he came into the scene, well, I guess Swingers was probably one of his first ones.
Him too much going outside of the box. I feel like like because he can to a degree, even if it doesn't turn out to be something that's great. I think he was pretty good in it. Whether the writing of the story and everything was good, that's a different story.
I think too that like it's really hard to have something do really well if it's not like it could be like if season 2 was season 1, like people probably would like it, but it just didn't hold up to season 1.
A totally different type of
story.
Like
the first season with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson was just so good that people wanted way more, and they kind of let down a little bit. But overall, I bet like if people never watched season 1. They probably would think it was okay.
Like if it wasn't like if that Vince Vaughn story with True Detective wasn't True Detective, it would probably have succeeded. Yeah. If it was something other, if it was called something else, and it was something else entirely. But, so then they end up on the with the trip to Vince Vaughn's mom's house.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and they're talking about like the crisis talk, and because she's
well, first though, He says that he felt like Celine Dion. But I thought that's something we should bring up before we He's like, as soon as it cuts from them, singing and doing the whole play and everything, it jumps to like he knows what it feels like now to be Celine Dion. Yeah. And she's like, you know what it feels like to be. So you felt like Celine Dion. He's like, yeah. I mean, I was getting a lot back from the crowd.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I just I thought that's hilarious.
That is super funny.
And it leads into the whole airplane argument. Will he be there for her if she needs him type thing?
Yeah. And she's like, I just want to know that, like, you'd put my oxygen mask on for yourself. And he's like, I wouldn't. And FA wouldn't want me to either. Then he goes on, like, this rant about, like...
how am I supposed to help you if I'm passed out?
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, back to it again. Like, that kind of dialogue, if you are open and willing to absorb it...
Yeah.
Just... It's beyond funny.
I'm telling you, one thing I've noticed too is that people don't really sit and watch movies either. Like stuff like that. They
just put it on
those little
and they do stuff. Especially like, I keep bringing up Mom in this. I don't know why. Just because like she's the Christmas lady.
Yeah, she really is.
And it's a Christmas movie, so I keep relating it to her.
Yeah.
But really, she tells me all the time how like she just puts stuff on and she has to be busy. Like, how can you be busy doing something and absorb it?
Yeah, no. It's like, it's one thing if you've seen it. Like, I've seen For Christmas a bunch of times. So now, during Christmas season, I can put it on and get enjoyment out of those little scenes here and there. You need to watch it one time and, like, get all those little things before you make an assessment on, like, how good or bad a movie is.
Yeah, definitely. Who is Vince Vaughn's mom? That's,
Sissy Spacek.
Sissy Spacek. That's what I thought, yeah.
She was in that Coal Miner's Daughter back in the day with, Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. She's been in tons of stuff. Those are just that's like the only thing I could think of too.
I really couldn't. Yeah. That's just because Dad used to watch it a lot too.
Yeah. Like as soon as like they get to his mom's house, the first thing she says is, "He certainly hasn't missed many meals." And pats his belly.
He's like, "I like the snack."
Yeah. There's like so many like the diet.
There's a lot of good scenes at even Brad's mom's house.
She goes and she says like, "Oh, he breastfed
until he was 5.
He was on my tits more than
some college professor.
Yeah, some college professor. Yeah, but that's when we meet Daryl.
Yeah, Brad's childhood friend.
Yeah, which is his mother's boyfriend. And it's like, how was the ride? Can I pay for your gas? Let me pay for your gas. He's like, actually, I don't need you to pay for my gas.
I make more than you.
I make more money than you. Yeah, and it's like, I don't want to be your dad. I just want to be your friend.
I just want to get a chance to be your friend. It's like, you were my friend, Daryl.
You were my best friend. We grew up together, rode bikes. We used to smell each other's hands. But now you're sleeping with my mom, and it's a little weird for me. Can you appreciate that?
Yeah, he's like, I never had a sexual thought about your mother. I was 30. It's funny.
Finally, the other brothers show up.
Denver and his wife shows up.
Denver. Well, so I guess Tim McGraw's character.
I don't think I've seen him.
Yeah,
I don't know if he was there or not. I don't remember seeing him. Because I was watching it a little bit this morning again, so I could catch up on my notes for the podcast. Yeah,
but so they're playing Taboo.
Yeah, Taboo.
Have you ever played that game?
It's pretty fun. Yeah,
it's
definitely
different. But
so the mom and boyfriend go first.
Yeah,
which is just super inappropriate and sexually inappropriate and uncomfortable references going on.
Yeah, very uncomfortable. Like talking about like, oh, what did I use?
Last night.
Last night. Like
the chocolate. It's like no, something else.
Before,
And you can see the look on Brad's face behind him as he's holding the buzzer. And
he's like, stop
it, please.
Stop it, please. Yeah. But my favorite part of that scene is it starts with flip the tube. Flip the tube. And like John Favreau's character.
He's eating wings.
Dude, like.
He's eating wings
and all of the questions, like all the things that they brought up were like, it really shows like they know each other like perfectly.
Yeah, as soon as she's done saying the question, he's answering, and they get like 7 cards. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's too funny. And then like the one is like, what did I help you come up with the other night? Alibi.
An alibi.
Alibi.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Just like, who's the only man I can cheat on you with? John Grisham. Like,
so random.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then Brad and Kate's turn on the taboo.
yeah, they
He gets real frustrated because she's bad at it.
She's very bad, and like I'm like I can totally relate to this because I get like very frustrated when people like when like if I know how to do something and I feel like it's common sense and someone else doesn't know how to do that, it really frustrates me. Like even just today, we're blowing leaves outside, and like I'm explaining to Madison like how to blow the leaves so you get them all.
Yeah.
And like I told her, I was like, just go back inside. Cause like it was frustrating me so much.
Go back inside.
Yeah, because like when people like don't know how to do something that is clear as day, it frustrates me. Like playing that game, like even like the mom, like whenever like they start fighting.
Yeah, she doesn't understand.
Yeah,
that, you know, he's allowed to say them.
He's allowed to say the words. Yeah, I'm allowed to say the words because I can't see. I can't see the.
That's why the thing's right here.
Yeah, that's why the thing's right here.
But what's interesting, you know, the first card they get, she, you know, is trying to get him to say peekaboo. And that story that she tells is actually true, like where her, you know, breast actually popped out during, like Reese Witherspoon actually had an occurrence.
Had that
happen to her where her breast popped out.
Oh man!
And so she told that story in the movie, you know, as being that thing, and that, you know, that's why she's called peekaboo. Yeah.
Oh man!
I didn't know that, but yeah, it's pretty interesting.
That scene kind of reminded me too. You know, we talked about this a couple days ago when we were talking about the film a little bit, but in the breakup, whenever they're playing Pictionary, like
it's like the same situation.
Obviously, it's a little different, like because Vince Vaughn in the breakup, he gets like pissed off.
Yeah.
And in this movie, though, he gets like, "I'm shutting down."
He's like, "I'm done.
I'm done."
Yeah. Yeah. He contains himself, but still. Quits
He's like, you know, you don't know how to play the game. I'm trying to explain the best ways to play the game.
You obviously don't know.
You obviously don't know the best ways to play the game, so I'm shutting down. I think that's basically it from that scene. I think what's kind of cool about this movie too is that like it really does a good job at like separating.
Yeah, no,
like, it breaks it up into like
trying to take notes. I'm like, man, this is really easy because the Four Christmases thing alone, you know, kind of builds a platform.
Yeah, you have an intro. You have 4 Christmases, and in between each 4 Christmases, you have a car ride.
Yeah.
And then you have an outro or the ending.
I think that's it. It's such a cool.
Yeah, it's framed very well.
It's a very good movie. I mean,
yeah,
it's definitely formed well.
So they're on the way to Kate's dad's.
Yeah, car trip to Kate's dad's.
And I think this is where we really get the overall message of the film.
Yeah.
Like during this car ride, we really see a lot. You know, and one of like a great quote again from Vince Vaughn's character is, love means never having to say you're sorry. Love means never having to say you're sorry.
Like, yeah, she's like, Brad, I think we should talk. And he's like, you know what? You don't have to apologize. Because love means never really.
And, you know, it's, you know, she talks about how she took a pregnancy test.
Yeah, and he flips out.
Yeah, he's like... And then she's like, it was negative. And he's like, well, you should have hit me with that at the beginning, making me take laps around the anxiety pole. You pulled the goalie, yeah. Yeah, but he's like, you know, you're making me take laps around the anxiety pole.
Yeah. She's like, what's his reaction? He's like, if anything, you know, this Christmas trip has showed us is that the dangers of procreation.
The dangers of procreation. You know, I think Kate is the one, you know, she says that, you know, she wants to be in a relationship that goes where it needs to.
Yeah.
And so like I was saying, this is really where we get like the real message of the film is that no matter like what is going on in like your life and the family and like because every family has issues, but to use those as like a barrier to like hold you back from things, like you really need to, you know, you need to be open and willing. And obviously we get to that later, you know, when Vince Vaughn kind of opens up.
Yeah.
But so yeah, they get there and Brad and Kate, they get into a fight and Brad leaves and Kate goes inside.
Yeah, Brad doesn't go in with her because she says she doesn't want to be in there pretending to be something that they're not.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the first things that happen when she goes inside, you know, she's talking to her sister, Courtney, and it's like, where's Brad? And it's like, oh, he's not going to make it. And then out of nowhere, she's like, I have a great idea. Internet dating. Like, how inappropriate is that?
That's so random, yeah.
And then she gets busted. You know, she walks into, like, it looks like her father's den or something like that. And that's kind of like, you know, she gets busted. And her father's played by John Voight.
Comes in,
and he's like, "Oh, so where are you?
You're not inoculating babies
you're not
in
inoculating." Yeah. And he like mentions all these other past
so he knew
lies.
They were lying about vacationing and stuff.
Yeah. They have it cuts later and they're having dinner all together. And the way that they framed the scene I thought was really cool. Like, so I'm totally against whenever you have a subject that's dead center. Like, that's just not a very good way to frame something.
Yeah.
And so, but in this scene, it was cool. She was all the way far right, and you saw an empty chair. And, like, it's just, the whole time, like, every time, you saw her, it's just like you saw her, and then you saw this empty chair. And it was, like, evenly, proportioned in the screen.
I think we, like, subconsciously, feel, like, in that place, like, because we're seeing something that's, like, like, empty, and we, like, subconsciously probably feel with the person in the thing a little bit,
Yeah.
Like, you're seeing something, and she's, like, alone. It kind of helps you feel more. Like,
more, yeah. I think it we go back and Brad decides when he left Kate that he's going to his dad's house.
Yeah, he goes to talk to his dad.
It's his dad, yeah. And this is they have like a long talk, and I think he realizes his mistake.
Yeah, he tells him that he left her, or that he said she smelled the stink on you or something like that. Yeah. And he's like, no, actually, left her kind of.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, really? And he's like, and he says, that the ones you fight with the most are the ones that are most like you. And that's like the first thing that he says that gets Vince Vaughn, like, you kind of see him like,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he says, all right, come on inside. We're gonna talk. And that kind of leads, just to him realizing he doesn't want to be like his father. And
yeah, which I think we said something earlier in the podcast that I wanted to reiterate that point. I can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but that is the thing. It's like he realizes the parallels between him and his father. Whenever he says family, you can't spell families without lies. So like you can tell that they're very similar. And then this is the point where he really realizes that he doesn't want to end up like his father. Yeah. So we're back at Kate's dad's house. He ends up showing up, and like right off the bat, as soon as Kate opens the door and Brad's out there,
he starts immediately.
Yeah, he starts immediately with his dialogue. It's like
he's explaining what kids' uses are and stuff.
Well, he's like, we might as well have two because they're like dogs. Like right off the bat, like kids are like dogs.
Yeah, and then Kate goes on saying that they're good for chores and whatnot. And he's like, they're like walking tax shelters.
We've never thought about it from this angle before.
Yeah.
Like all the things. We gotta get like sweat. Is there gonna be sweater vests and lacrosse, or we gotta be aware because
what schools to take them to.
Yeah, because you have the art student that's all hopped up on medication wants to shank the kid. It's crazy.
That's funny.
But that in this scene, he also reiterates, and he kind of says the same thing that Kate said in the car, but kind of in a different way. He says that he's open to let love grow where love wants to grow.
Yeah.
So.
It is pretty much like one of the last scenes, right?
That's the last scene that has to deal with like the Christmases, and then it cuts to a year later.
Oh well, yeah, you're right. It does. Yeah.
So a year later, they're kind of still playing the same old game, but they're they want family, but just not their family. It seems like they just want their immediate family.
So they're having a baby, but they decided not to tell
anybody. Yeah,
anybody that she was pregnant.
And then it parallels back to how the news station caught them on their first lie, and now they're being caught this time. So it's like, the first baby of the new year.
That was really good how they brought that back.
Yeah, and right from the beginning in that scene, Vince Vaughn's character Brad, he's like, he's talking about the birth and like being a father. I've been in that situation before in the birthing room and stuff.
Yeah,
and
he's like, you were amazing.
He was like, I felt like I was an air traffic controller.
He's like, you were like,
yeah. But yeah, they're on the news again, and they didn't tell their parents, and then the baby throws up on Kate again.
Yeah. And then he starts choking, and he's all flipping out.
That's basically how the movie ends.
Yeah.
So there's some really deep messages in there. We covered most of them.
It's obviously a very good Christmas movie to watch during the season. I always enjoy it. I watch it multiple times. I watched it like 4 times just to do this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Probably, yeah. And like the last because we changed the dates so many times.
Yeah,
I kept watching. I like to watch it right before coming to it.
Yeah, so everything's fresh. Yeah, I just like went over my notes to make sure everything was fresh. Because I think it was like 3 or 4 days ago that I had watched it. But
got some upcoming movies. I don't know if you were gonna do that again or anything. Did you write down any?
I didn't write any this time, but I have stuff in my head.
Okay.
So if you wanna...
I mean, I'm obvious to keep with the Christmas theme, the Office Christmas Party. I don't know if have you seen the trailer?
Oh, the one with
T.J. Miller.
T.J. Miller. And
T.J. Miller, Jason Bateman, Jennifer
yeah.
Aniston, Rob Corddry's in there somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think he was in the trailer, but I've seen him on the cast, so I'm interested to see. I love Rob Corddry. Yeah, I love T.J. Miller. I love the whole cast.
You still haven't seen any of Ballers yet, though, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah,
you've seen Ballers?
Yeah, he's awesome.
Dude, Rob Corddry is amazing.
He's awesome. But yeah, I mean, the Office Christmas Party is so I guess T.J. Miller is like the main character, and his uptight CEO sister is Jennifer Aniston, and they and I guess she's threatening to shut down the branch. So the manager, which I think is T.J. Miller, tries to throw an epic Christmas party to try to land a big client. And save the day type thing.
It's kind
of, but the party gets out of hand, and that's like the overall plot of the movie.
I think I've seen the trailer. It's kind of funny that like Jennifer Aniston's kind of like her whole career after breaking up thing. It's totally changed. Like she's done all these like where she's like the sexy mean,
very risky, risque movies. But I mean, I think she's good in a lot of them. Like her roles in Horrible Bosses were great. I like both of them.
But like before all that, like she never did stuff like that. She's always like
she was pretty
like Along Came Polly. Those types of things.
And then I mean, we're the Millers. She was playing a stripper and
so, that's true. Yeah.
And and then I mean, obviously Rogue One comes out this month.
Which I'm supposed to do that. I got to talk to everybody and see if they're still like I've already gotten tons and tons of notes on Rogue One. Like there's so much I want to talk about. I just had to get everybody together to do it.
That'll definitely be cool.
I'm so excited about that. I think I'm more excited about that than I am about I was about Force Awakens.
Came out. Yeah, I would definitely like to go see it.
Yeah.
But one other one I found a little interesting. I'm not too into the subject matter, but it's Martin Scorsese new movie Silence. Have you seen anything about it?
I don't think I've heard anything
Liam
about
Neeson and Adam Driver, Andrew Garfield. It's like 2 priests face violence and persecution when they travel to Japan to locate a mentor and propagate Christianity. So,
that's...
Yeah, it's a weird thing for Martin Scorsese. That's why I thought, like, I seen a trailer the other day. It was kind of, like, vague and whatnot, but it seemed pretty cool and different for Martin Scorsese. So that's something, to possibly check out.
I think in our last podcast that we did together, I talked about that Allied movie. I really want to see that.
The Nocturnal Animals that I watched a trailer and that seemed pretty. Isn't that what it's called?
Nocturnal Animals with Amy Adams and
looks like it
Jake
would be
Gyllenhaal.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I'm excited to see that. So are there any since we have a really holiday oriented family, but like my immediate family here, we kind of like Four Christmases was the first Christmas movie we watched of the season because we won't watch anything until after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So like. Since then, like I turned on stuff to watch with Aiden. Like we were watching a little bit of Christmas Vacation today. Yesterday we watched a little bit of the original Grinch, the cartoon. Are there any other Christmas movies that you think you're going to be watching before the end of the season?
I definitely think there's some other ones. I mean, we could, I don't know how much you like Seth Rogen in the group, but the night before. I mean, it was an alright movie. It wasn't, it's not really classic or anything like that. But it's something cool to turn on during Christmas time.
Yeah.
But
it's funny because like all 3 of them like have different. One's Jewish, one's
that is pretty
Catholic.
Cool,
One's something else. Yeah.
Yeah, that one and basically all like you said, Christmas Vacation and all those ones are great. I mean, I watch Harold and Kumar's the very Harold and Kumar Christmas. I usually watch that. I enjoy those ones, but
I haven't really watched too much yet this year, but like I never watched like all of it. I think I have like maybe 70 Christmas movies, and one year I'll watch like one and then I won't watch it the next year. It's not like I'm like I have to watch all of these every single Christmas year. Like Mom, she was saying that like she doesn't watch anything but Christmas movies during this season. Like she won't turn anything else on. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind watching the Flintstones Christmas Carol again. I haven't seen that since I was.
Oh yeah, and I just really got some of those. Yeah, I got there's.
I've seen Jason had sent you a message about it on Facebook when you were talking about what things you wanted.
Yeah.
But for future possible podcasts, I was talking to Steve, and Steve would be interested in coming and doing one.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And I think a really super good one would be Tropic Thunder. And me and Steve love Tropic Thunder, so I think, and I know you'd be probably be able to have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I like that movie. I've only seen it maybe 2 or 3 times.
But man, there's just I've done a lot of little research into it, and it's amazing. Just how funny it is and how cool it is to see them paralleling all the war movies and hearing explanations from Ben Stiller about how long it took him and Justin Theroux to write it and how long they were in production of it.
Oh, so Justin Theroux?
They both wrote it together. They started it because during the time that Ben Stiller was getting bigger as an actor, a lot of the people he was friends with, he said, started going off to do war movies and stuff like that, and they would come back and tell them how they went to boot camp and stuff like that, and they felt like they were all tough because they went to a movie star boot camp, Yeah. And Ben Stiller said he always thought it was funny how these actors would think that they were tough for having gone through this training that was celebrity training, not real military training. So he thought that all the movies with Sylvester Stallone is Rambo and then Platoon and all those. There's just so many scenes that they almost they homage Quentin Tarantino style. They take directly from Platoon. He gets down on his knees and he does the whole in the middle of the field. There's so many good things about that you can reference old war movies and stuff like that. But and there's an awesome director's cut on the DVD that I have, the Blu-ray that I have is, there's a bunch of little behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, Steve was saying that he'd like to do that. So
cool. Yeah, we'll put that on the books.
Tropic Thunder.
Cool. I don't have a game. I kind of.
Yeah, I wrote down one quote, and I know you'll get it. Really? Right before I left, I was trying to come up with something, but I couldn't. But you'll probably get this one. Obviously, you're not a golfer. Yeah, you don't.
Obviously, you're not a golfer.
Yeah. Obviously, you're not a golfer. No. It's random. It's Big Lebowski.
It's been a while since I've watched
But it's so random. The other reason why I thought of it was because I thought it's so random because the guy's holding a bowling ball whenever he says it. He drops the bowling ball in inside his bathroom, and he's like, "What the hell is this?"
That's a good one to do too.
Obviously, that would be a really great one.
The Big Lebowski.
So we'll have to do that.
Yeah. It'd be nice too, because I feel like when we do these podcasts, I get more kind of in love with the movie, Reservoir Dogs. After watching it and taking notes and researching it, you just like it that much more.
Yeah.
And Four Christmases, it's a different kind of thing, but I really like it. Yeah. And I feel like just thinking about some of the things, the movie that I did, episode 2, that we did, Babblin with Kids About Film, that movie, it's a kids movie, but that movie is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The story is just crazy. So
cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna end up probably doing another one of those. I think the last episode, it was a little too formulaic. We kind of covered the plot way too much, but it was the first time talking to a 6-year-old about in depth. But he made some really good points about stuff, so it was kind of cool. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So yeah, we got a lot more of these to bang out, but this was fun, and it was cool to get a holiday movie in there before the holiday ends.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always fun.
And we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks. If you're a first-time listener, you can check out show notes, upcoming episodes, and links to all of our social media at babblinboutfilm.com. Follow the show at Babblin Bout Film on Twitter and Facebook. You've just listened to Babblin Bout Film, Episode 3, 4 Christmases, directed by Seth Gordon.